Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Let me just give a couple of people a chance to join my live show. Today's topic I wanted to touch up on religion and politics, and what I believe is basically one and the same, because ultimately what a lot of people fail to acknowledge is that most of the times the only war that's truly being declared on us are legislative wars. And these legislative wars, once they're declared on us, these legislative wars can easily turn into spiritual wars, because ultimately it is only through these legislative wars can they then establish laws that can be imposed upon us. And this is why I try to always tell people that religion and politics is one and the same. You have people that are working to deceive you, and you have people that are working to represent you, working to represent the path and the right way to go. Now, I was doing some research, and I just wanted to share some facts with you guys, because as you guys know, I'm the type of person, I'm extremely into history. I'm extremely into politics, and I'm even more extreme about my beliefs about God. So even though my personality may not reflect it, because I have a strong personality, don't get it, don't mistake one thing for another. I'm still passionate about God, and I'm still passionate about preserving the ideals associated with Christianity. My anger issues are personal. They have nothing to do with my connection or communication with God. Anyway, so I wanted to just touch up on some brief theological reference points, and just paint a narrative for you, and share a little story. I'm going to narrate a little story to give you an idea of how it's possible to declare a spiritual war, even on those who don't believe in God, even on those who don't believe in the Spirit. It is still possible to declare a spiritual war on you through legislation. And I'm going to break it down to you like this. As everybody knows, since Donald Trump got inaugurated, we've been going through a whole bunch of nonsense. We've gone through everything from the fabrication of stories to the collusion of the national mainstream media here in America, colluding with one another to go up against not only our president, but the people that put our president into power. A lot of people only see this in terms of anger, but what a lot of people don't understand is that a lot of this anger extends from an ideological war. There's been an ideological war going on in this planet since the beginning of time. And this ideological war is always presented to man in different forms. But ultimately, the ultimate goal throughout every war and every battle that we fought to sustain certain ideologies, the goal for the enemy has always been the same, and it is the conquering of the entire world, and putting the entire world under the submission of one supranationalist, powerful government. Because of this, a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people who don't really know the Bible, a lot of people who don't understand or really know how to interpret the Bible, I'm going to take a couple of minutes to break something down that is specific to exactly what's going on today in 2017, and exactly what's been going on since January 20th of 2017, since Donald Trump got inaugurated. And I'm going to theorize why I believe this has been going on. Now, as many of you know and understand, in politics, using political terms, we're at war with an idea called the one world order. Exactly, Juanqui Cuevas. We're at war with the one world order. But what a lot of people who are into politics and a lot of people who are into academics and who neglect or don't accept the ideas of theology as a reference point, what they fail to see is that all of it is interconnected. All of it correlates with everything. So the ideals of religion are correlated with the ideas of politics, and I'm going to break this down to you like this. We've been at war with globalism since before Donald Trump came in. And I'm talking about NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement. I'm talking about TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. I'm talking about every working mechanism that has been put in place by globalists like George Soros in order to usher in the New World Order, in order to usher in a supranationalist government here in North America in the form of the North American Union, which was one of the propositions proposed to the American government after the NAFTA. They wanted to create a supranationalist government, and I'm going to explain to you why. In Revelation, in the Bible, now we're going to go to Bible. You don't have to believe in God or believe in religion to use something as a reference point, as long as that reference point makes rational, logical sense. And if you can follow through with the metaphors and the symbolism and the researchable reference points that you'll also be able to go to and where I got these interpretations from. So I'm not just going to lead you through a story. I'm going to give you reference points that you can always go back and research. Now, if we go to Revelations, in the Bible, is the book of Revelations, chapter 13. In the book of Revelation, chapter 13, it says, behold, I stood upon the sea, and I seen a beast rise up out of the sea, and the beast had 7 heads, and upon those 7 heads were 10 horns, and upon those 10 horns were 10 crowns. Now, I'm going to explain to you how that little verse right there in the Bible in Revelation chapter 13 has to do with the New World Order. Politically speaking, the New World Order represents the coming together of the whole world. And how do you bring the whole world together? You bring the whole world together by first micromanaging the 7 continents which make up the entire world, because the entire world is made up of 7 continents. Now, if you go to the United Nations page, you notice that even though we have 7 continents, we have 10 regional powers. Now, taking these numbers into account, now you can go back into Revelation chapter 13 and you realize that when they're speaking about the beast that has 7 heads with 10 horns, and upon those 10 horns 10 crowns, what they're really talking about is the one world order that came out of the 7 heads, which equates to the 7 continents, and on top of those 7 continents, it is established upon the 10 regional powers as defined by the United Nations, and upon those 10 regional powers are the 10 powers that reign upon those 10 regions. Now, if you think that I'm just making this up, and you think that the beast represents an actual animal with horns or whatever, we can always go back to the book of Daniel. For those of you who don't know who Daniel was an Israeli who basically was had the ability to interpret dreams. So whenever you want to interpret anything in the Bible that deals with metaphors and symbolisms, which is predominantly in Revelation, in the book of Revelation, you can always go back to the book of Daniel, because remember, everything that God has put in the Bible can always be referred to something that God already put in the Bible, because according to Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 9, there is nothing new under the sun. So what is, was, and will always be. Whatever you find in Revelation 13, you can go to the book of Daniel, either chapter 7 or chapter 2, and you will find every metaphor that defines the beast. The beast is defined as a kingdom or a power. You understand? So when you're interpreting these dreams or these revelations, you always got to go back to the book of Revelations. Now that we got that, so If you guys want to go and research it, just go back to the book of Daniel, either chapter 7 or chapter 2, and read that, and you will see exactly where I got my interpretations from, where the beast actually represents a kingdom or a power, and how the horns actually represent a leadership, and a crown represents the actual leader. It's all broken down in the book of Daniel, because this is how God works. God gave us truth. But only the wisest man, only those who are capable of not just reading the Bible, but interpreting the Bible, only those of us that are able and capable of interpreting the Bible, only those of us who are capable of doing that can truly understand why the Bible is perfect. Because the Bible wasn't created to be explicit. The Bible was created for wise people, so that those wise people can take the power of information and lead the people into the right route. So Revelations chapter 13 already speaks about the one world order, which is the beast with 7 heads. The 7 heads represent the 7 continents of the world, and upon those 7 continents there are 10 regional power as defined by the United Nations. Now, I don't know if anybody knows, ever since Donald Trump came into power, we've been in an ideological war. We've been in a spiritual war. We've been in a legislative war. Because if you think about it, it's all one and the same. The only way they keep us divided is by utilizing semantics and by utilizing terminology, by separating us into studies. Because ultimately, if you only believe in theology, or you only believe in politics, or you only believe in philosophy, that is the division. The division is in culture, the division is in perspective, and the division lies in the path that we choose. And in the psychological mechanism that holds us back from retaining any further or any new information. And that mechanism is called the cognitive dissonance. The same mechanism that the government utilizes to indoctrinate us and socially condition us at an early age, so that once we have this information, any positive information that is introduced to us becomes automatically rejected by our cognitive dissonance. This is an ideological war. This is a legislative war. This is a psychological war. But ultimately, this is a spiritual war. Because the war has been declared on combating who God created you naturally to be. Now, let me go a little further with this study. Why have they been declaring war against Donald Trump? Because of the simple reason that before Donald Trump, the globalist agenda was going full force. 6 out of the 7 seals has already been broken. Israel wasn't supposed to be born as a new nation until some of those 7 seals were broken. We are on the path of an apocalyptic event. Now, I know you think I'm wilding out. Now, you think I'm Alex Jones, but I'm no Alex Jones, because when I talk with reference. You think I'm lying? I challenge you. Grab your phone right now, Google Doomsday Clock. Google Doomsday Clock and read the first paragraph, and it will tell you explicitly that the Doomsday Clock, which is supposed to represent the end of the world, was brought up to 2.5 minutes to midnight after Donald Trump got inaugurated, because according to them, Donald Trump installed nationalism. Now think about it. Why would nationalism be a threat to the board of atomic scientists, the ones that adjust the clock? Why would it be a threat to them? Because only nationalism can defeat globalism. Because nationalism is patriotism, which is why people have been propagating. And the term nationalism has been hijacked because it was paid to be hijacked. You think all this is coincidental? It's a legislative war. It's a tactical war. It's a psychological war, because it's a spiritual war. All this has to do with changing your behavior. All of it has to do with straying you and leading you astray and away from purpose. From purpose. Each one of us has a purpose. And we've navigated away from that purpose to pursue materialistic and superficial gains. And this is the war. This is the psychological war that they've declared on us, and they've done it successfully. The dumbing down of America is only possible through Marxism, because of our propensity to weak ideas because of our propensity to passively introduce false information. Because if you introduce information as aggressively as I introduce information, that information will be rejected by your cognitive dissonance that is telling you, that man thinks he's arrogant. That man thinks he knows it all. Your cognitive dissonance is guiding you and leading you astray. And this is the same mechanism that the government is using. And this is the same mechanism that keeps you psychologically oppressed. Because they understand psychology. Which is why they launched premature attacks on the black and Hispanic community by promoting defeatism through ideas such as white privilege, through ideas such as structural racism, through ideas such as systemic racism. Because as long as you can continue to implant the idea that there's an invincible enemy out there to get you, you will continue to nurture pessimism in the minds of children. This is a psychological war because this is a spiritual war. Because this is a legislative war. It's all one and the same. But why are they at war with Donald Trump? Because like I said, they brought up the clock on the doomsday clock. Google it. Doomsday clock. Google it. Doomsday clock. It says it explicitly. How can they compare bringing up the doomsday clock higher than it's ever been since 1953 when the Soviet Union was testing hydrogen bombs? How can they compare the inauguration of Donald Trump to the testing of hydrogen bombs by the Soviet Union? How's that even possible? And how are people allowing this? Because ultimately it was all planned. Because once they changed the clock on the doomsday clock, that's when they executed their plan to send out all these groups that are empowered by the idea of intersectionality, which is finding a common ground of hate for the patriarchy society. For the white male, for everything that they believe are to blame, for anything that they can consider a whipping boy, a scapegoat, to justify their inabilities, their inadequacy, to justify and take away accountability from those that should be accountable. It's like blaming the gun when it was the finger that pulled the trigger. This is an ideological war because it is a legislative war, because it is a spiritual war. What do you think is going on in Europe? Why do you think that the government is able to thought police Britons? Why do you think that they're able to tell them, if you talk about Muslims, we're going to shut you down, we're going to come to your house, we're going to arrest you? Why? Because it was tactical, because it was strategic, it was pre-planned. They didn't learn from the first time when Nazi Hitler took over and almost executed 1/3 of Europe. They did not learn, and they allowed their government to take away their rights to bear arms. And because of that, now the thought police can go to their door and take away their kids and take away their families because they can't defend themselves. And Europe is trying to give us advice on what leader we should choose. I suggest you guys start looking at yourselves and start looking at the fact that you've chosen Marxism over nationalism, that you've chosen political correctness over unpacified truth, over the fact that America is a free country that chooses to do what it chooses to do because we live in a nation filled with individuals that have the freedom to be individuals, which is why we have such a apparent degree of division. But this division doesn't make us flawed. This division makes us great. Because when the time comes for America to fight, America stands together. America stands together when it's time to fight. Our difference of ideas doesn't matter because we know that when North Korea fires those missiles, they're aiming at everybody in America. They're not aiming at leftists. They're not aiming at right. Going a little further, why are they aiming at Donald Trump? They're aiming at Donald Trump because he's the one that stopped the globalist agenda. Because he's the one that stopped it all. Donald Trump was born exactly 70 years, 7 months and 7 days when he was inaugurated, which represents 777, which represents the seal of God, the numerical message that God sent us, that if we don't listen to him, look at what's going on. The doomsday clock already tell you that after Donald Trump, the apocalyptic event is going to happen. Go Google it. After Donald Trump, they're going to execute the apocalyptic event. Donald Trump represents 777. That's the numerical message that God sent to us. You don't believe 777 is God's number? Remember the seventh to keep it holy. Genesis. Revelation chapter 10. The seven trumpets will sound before the seven seals are broken. 7, 7. The seven seals will mark the coming of Jesus Christ. 7, 7, 7. Trump will send with a purpose. Trump will send with a mission, with a message. The only thing that can defeat globalism is nationalism. Doomsday clock, Google it. Doomsday clock, change the clock, because Donald Trump installed, he revitalized nationalism, and because of that, he became a threat. We became a threat. The world became a threat. Brexit became a threat. France became a threat. The whole world is on the verge of becoming a threat. And because of that, World War III is on the verge of happening. Go Google it. Go Google Doomsday Clock. Go Google it. You guys think I'm lying. You guys think I'm exaggerating. This information is apparent, is researchable. Everything that I said, you can go research. Revelation 13 can be interpreted by using Daniel's chapter 7 or Daniel's chapter 2, where you can find the word beast and what it represents, where you can find the word heads and horns and what it represents, where you can find the word crowns and what it represents. Facebook doesn't